Hi, I'm Stephanie Cloutier with Concord Carlisle Adult and Community Ed, and I'm here to give you a closer look at some of our upcoming classes and events. 3 times a year, we create a calendar of courses for people to take, but we also offer some special events that we think would be of interest to the community at large. Today, we're going to talk about one of those events, which is a music recital with faculty and students from our instrumental music school. And with me to talk about that is teacher and saxophone player Dennis Schaefer. Welcome, Dennis.
Hi.
I'm so glad to have you with me. And before we start, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what IMSCC is, which is the Instrumental Music School of Concord and Carlisle. And that is this music program that is housed here at the high school, has practice rooms and everything, and allows students from a young age all the way up through high school to do additional lessons to sort of improve and enhance what they're doing already in their school bands. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. And I've been part of IMSCC since September 2016, working with Debbie Levine, who's helped me set up a schedule of private students after school. And also during the school day, I work with some high school students that have it in their schedule. They can sneak in a lesson here and there during their lunch period or their free period. And it's been really great because I get to work with, these students are very fine students from the get-go. They might not have private lessons right away, and then they start taking lessons, or I'm starting them off on their instrument for the very first time. And I love getting a great mix of students, but overall I feel this is a very community that fosters music education very well, and I love the work that the teachers do, and the opportunity to work with especially advanced students on the saxophone.
So these are students who are pretty serious about their instrument, is that right?
Yeah, some I think that I just want to maintain an interest with them in music through the saxophone. Others are get particularly advanced and want to participate in these solo and ensemble contests, which there are plenty of, and I make it my business to train professional musicians, but it's not necessary that all students have to become professional musicians that work with me. But I can certainly take them that way if they want, if they desire.
So that's
that.
just the level that you're.
That's
you're
what I'm
doing
capable
them, right.
of training them. But some kids like practicing more than others, and I love all the I love when kids. Every teacher, every music teacher, it would be a lie to say they don't love it when their students practice. And I try and inspire them to practice in ways. The most important parts of my music pedagogy is organizing these concerts and performances with them, which is why I'm really excited to be here and talking about this faculty recital that I'm involving them in on February 4th.
So does this give them an opportunity to sort of practice what it is that you're doing?
Yeah, so they have this concert coming up, and whether they're working on something simple like Frere Jacques or Uptown Funk, they're a cool saxophone version of that, or some serious classical sonata or concerto. I have students working on the whole range of stuff, and then they get to perform that and then stick around for another hour and see if they stuck with it for 20 years, where they could be. And that really to me is like the continuation and shows, and whenever I saw my teachers perform, that made me want to go home and work harder on my instrument.
Right.
So and these kids are so busy. To get them to come out, and just see me perform is one thing. But if they have to perform, then they have to be there. And so that's been kind of my hook to get them to come and get more interested in music performance in general.
Right. So the event itself, which I want people to know about, is on Sunday, February 4th. It takes place over at Trails End Cafe, which is over on Lowell Road. There you can order food and drink while you're listening to the music, which is such a great way to do it. Yep. And it starts at 2 in the afternoon, no, 3?
So 2 in the afternoon, the kids get there and they sort of warm up, and that's their chance to kind of get the lay of the land, and then they perform at 3 o'clock. So the best time, if you want to hear the community of students I have performing, that would be at 3 o'clock. And then at 4 p.m., the faculty recital starts, and in that portion, and I believe the 3 o'clock thing we're calling is the prelude concert. And that prelude concert is just my students playing for friends and family, and everyone's welcome to come to that. But then at 4 o'clock, my saxophone quartet plays, and that's the faculty recital, and I will play some solo work as well. And and yeah, it's going to be really, really fun. And we have this saxophone quartet that we commissioned. We paid a composer to write us a piece for 4
wow.
saxophones, and we'll be playing that for the first time at this event. So it's really neat. His name is Rutkowski, and the piece is really neat. Probably a 15-minute long piece, and then we're going to throw in some other stuff.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So have you picked the students ahead of time who are going to come out, or is it just whoever comes? And do you practice the songs ahead of time?
So
like, do they know
this
what
month
they're doing?
is a busy month of January, because December they thought, oh, we have all this time, and now it's less than a month away. There's performance coming
Right.
up. So in each lesson, I'm like, okay, you're going to perform this and this and this, and then we button it up. And so right now it's like we're really just getting those pieces fine-tuned and getting them ready. So they know what they're going to be performing in a couple weeks, and it should be really exciting. So we have stuff by Johann Sebastian Bach is a composer, a French composer, female composer named Paul Maurice wrote a concerto for saxophone, and we're going to have a pianist. I'm going to hire a piano accompanist to come and play these pieces with them, and then hopefully get some ensemble pieces as well with these kids. I have organized for the saxophone students at Concord High School to perform this version of In the Mood, all saxophones, this Glenn Miller arrangement of In the Mood for 6 saxophones. We performed it, they performed it in the Prism concert that they have every year, which was really neat.
Really?
And so hopefully we'll have a version of that with my students on the February 4th. And my goal, my dream, is to sort of revive this chamber music idea that has existed, the chamber music program, but a little dormant in the IMSCC, to start a saxophone quartet. And a saxophone quartet, like my saxophone quartet is going to be performing, it has 4 saxophones: soprano, alto, tenor, and then there's a bigger one, baritone saxophone.
Really?
Right? So this is the Kenny G saxophone.
Okay.
This is the Bill Clinton saxophone, and this is that other saxophone that most people play. That's the beginners, the kids start on.
Right.
So
is that the one I would hear in the subway when people are
most students playing that. It's easier to cart around, but this is the more commercial, jazzy one. This is the one you hear more often, maybe in the subway, because it's a little bigger. But for kids, this is the right size saxophone to start on.
Wow.
And I play both. You'll hear this. I play both classical and jazz and commercial music on all these instruments. So might play a little bit later. Play some of that stuff for you guys.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So how many students do you have coming on Sunday? That Sunday.
So on that Sunday, I have about 15 students with their families. The place will be packed, but there will be plenty of space for other people to come. And I also should mention that I'm having a backup band. And the backup band is, my band is called The Buzz, and we're like a sort of a dance, make people dance band. We play corporate events and weddings and stuff. And they're going to be backing up, and I do this a lot with my students. I always have to be able to back up my kids if they want to play some jazz on the recital. And then after the saxophone quartet plays, we'll have a short sort of set played by The Buzz. So it's really exciting because I get to have all my worlds collide. The band that I play with, and then the classical group that I play with, and then my students. So it's something I really savor each year, is getting all these people together, because they all enjoy.
What's really nice is, it's one thing to practice, and nobody loves, well, some people love practicing, but for the most part, it's a chore because you're doing the same thing over and over. But this gives you something to shoot for. This is the big finale, or not necessarily finale, because they'll continue practicing, but this gives sort of a summation of what they have been learning, and that's kind of nice. And then to do it out in front of people. It's actually really cool.
And kids, they take that seriously. They're like, oh, well, I'm going to perform in front of a lot of people, because there's not, I don't give my kids grades. I don't give final exams for lessons. It's just like, oh, well, I did that well, and I'm better.
Right.
But if they have that goal in mind, that's a very goal-oriented thing. That's part of my pedagogy. Also, music is a very social thing.
Right.
For me, I think that I personally didn't develop as a musician until band class came along. And I was just like, band, yes, I'm going to be the best first chair. And I try and instill that in all my students, like,
Right.
you're going to be the best at this because you're working with me. But also because then they have some sense of camaraderie and playing music with and for other people. Music didn't make sense at all for me. When I took years of, I took 6 years of piano lessons, and my dad telling me, don't go practice,
Right.
we're making dinner over here, you go practice over there. And,
Right.
that just didn't make sense. Just go practice for what? And then you perform maybe once a year, but it didn't make as much sense when as when I was playing in groups with other people once or twice a week.
I actually like that idea of that camaraderie and working with other people to make music together. And the sound is rich.
Yeah.
It's much richer when you have all of those other musical instruments behind that. That's
Definitely.
so cool.
Yeah, and playing with piano is an important part. Piano is such an important instrument across the musical spectrum, but with classical music especially, if you go a year without playing something, saxophone and piano, to hear that richness, like you're saying, of playing something with, that it really gives you a sense of, oh, that's what it's like to play with other musicians.
Right, right.
Because you could play with one or two other musicians playing, but the pianist can play 20 things at once. So I'm excited to give them that, and then of course the experience of playing with a band. So
people they come in at any point during this? I mean, it starts at 3.
yeah, so 3 o'clock,
Yes.
and we made it on Super Bowl Sunday, but
Exactly.
before the kickoff is at 6:30. So what do people do before the kickoff at 6:30?
you kind of have to, relax and not get too hyped about what's going to happen with the Super Bowl. So better to go someplace.
So this is a good distraction right before the Super Bowl. It'll end right before that starts, and it's a great. I love the Trails End Cafe.
It is a really
You can
nice
just
venue.
Go in and out, mingle. There's a bar around the corner. You can grab a drink, and if you want to be less noisy while you're ordering a drink, then come and join the music down in that area. So I really like that space, and I'm excited to be trying out with our music, and I hope they'll have us back again. It could be really fun to do.
Yeah, I think that they have had other musicians there, and they do other
Yeah, they have a
musical
Tuesday
things.
night group that plays on Tuesday nights, a kind of more jazzy sort of thing, and livening it up. So I haven't experienced Concord nightlife yet, so this will be a good.
This will be actually very exciting.
Jumpstart, yeah.
And it's good, I think, for the students to have that opportunity to play in front of other people who aren't necessarily their parents or their family or the people who love them, but to have people out there, a regular audience, right?
Yeah, and I thought about this faculty recital could have been the auditorium. This is a beautiful auditorium, but it's too big a space for my 15 students.
Right.
So it's going to be a nice, cozy, I think, environment. It'll feel like, there's plenty of people because it's a smaller room, but also has enough space for people to sort of mingle in the back if they, need to get their instrument ready or something like that.
Right,
so,
right. Well, it's less formal.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it is it's a little cozier kind of an atmosphere. It's not this, I'm going on a stage and I'm going to perform, which is also lovely. There's something very lovely about that. But that whole idea of we're making music with our friends in an environment with other friends, and it's there to be enjoyed. And people are doing other things while they're enjoying the music, they're enjoying food, they're enjoying drink. But I think it's just a nice convivial kind of an atmosphere for that.
Yeah, I think it'll be.
That's really cool.
I think it'll be really great.
So do you think you'll do more of these?
Yeah, I would love to do it again next year, or I would recommend if other teachers wanted to do this, I hope to make that relationship continue. Also, my band, The Buzz, would love to show up again and do just a club event where they just make people come and dance.
Right.
There might be people with a dance at night in Concord. You can see about that. I know that they close at 11 p.m., so that's a little early. A little early on the side for
maybe not for the suburbs here.
But there's also live music at the Concord, the Colonial Inn, and other places in town. So this is a good, healthy competition of live music in different places. So I like to foster that, and like you were saying, there's lots of music in Concord. There's the Friends of the Performing Arts.
Oh, yes. Yeah. The Friends of the Performing
Walden.
Arts in Concord at 51 Walden.
51 Walden. And
I think it's actually the Performing Arts Center at 51 Walden now. It has a new name.
And they have the Concord Band is there.
Yeah.
And the Concord Orchestra. My saxophone quartet got to play with the Concord Band back in 2011.
Nice.
James O'Dell is the director of the Concord Band. And it's a beautiful room that they have there to perform in with the band, and that has a very rich history. They commissioned a piece by Charles Ives for the band that's been reperformed, and they have a rich history of supporting music there. So they have those Tuesday nights in the summer. They have those town band.
Yes,
concerts.
no, they definitely do.
So,
they do, and they're pretty. That is a venue that's pretty active.
Yeah.
In terms of music and other
Yeah.
performing, so actually really nice. Now, who else is in your band in the Buzz? What else? What other?
So the band, the Buzz has 3 lead vocalists. 2 would just stand there and sing,
Really?
and then there's a keyboardist that sings, and sometimes a guitarist that sings, or just a guitarist. So you have 3 or 4 vocalists. Some play instruments. Some just stand there and make you dance and sing, and and they're a lively group. And we have this wireless microphone, so they can go out in the audience and
Nice.
make trouble. And then I play the saxophone, of course, and then there's bass and drums, and so that's 7 people all together.
Wow.
When we're all in full force, we could do 4-piece versions of that.
And what kind of music do you guys play?
So we play all styles, but in an event, someone might want to hear some jazz or maybe even classical music earlier in the evening, and then as the evening progresses, have some more lively dance music. As people are eating dinner, they typically want just it to be in the background. And
Right,
not,
right.
And then as the evening progresses, if people get up on the dance floor, we try and keep the dance floor packed all night. That's kind of the MO of that
impetus.
group. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
and so,
I love that.
yeah, it should be really fun. I mean, I just enjoy entertaining.
Right.
Now, some of the music I play is not particularly entertaining. Some of it is challenging to the ears.
Right.
And I enjoy doing that. I love working with composers and making new art, and seeing people's reaction to that, which is not to whistle while you work or get up and dance. It might not be that. It might not be that sort of emotion, that feel-good emotion that it elicits. It might be a different emotion. That's I think when it comes to art, that can get a lot of different emotions going. Of
Oh
course,
my gosh, of course.
music is very addictive to people, more for the people that are just enjoying it as entertainment. Then it becomes less about how scary can the music be. 'Cause
Right,
there's plenty of
right.
scary stuff out there, right? Why do we need music to be scary?
No. What's
For
your most
entertainment-
challenging stuff that you play? Like, who's a composer? What kind of music do you play that's really challenging for you?
So for me, I like composers like Karlheinz Stockhausen and Luciano Berio wrote things for saxophone that are really challenging. There are European composers. Other ones that are still alive that I like working with are Etienne Rollin and François Rosset, and these are living composers, live in Bordeaux. And
nice.
I studied classical saxophone in France for 3 years, so I have this kind of affinity toward that.
Cool.
So kind of weird sounds the saxophone could make. Since I'm holding a saxophone, I could show you some weird sound. I didn't do this earlier.
Okay, so yeah.
These
Wow, yeah.
weird sounds the saxophone. So composers like writing stuff for that. That's
they
the kind of
really?
dorky stuff we can
Right.
go on for a long time about that. And so, but they can also make that very challenging.
Right.
And so this piece that we're premiering for 4 saxophones, written by Chris Rutkowski, has its challenging moments, and it has its sections that have these key clicks and these
Right.
And harmonic fingerings and different we could go on forever about, but it should be pretty interesting, but also entertaining. It's got its entertaining side. There's some funky
that's
parts
really
to the
cool.
piece. So that's going to be a fun saxophone quartet that will premiere. And I don't know if you're familiar with how music fundraising is for composers, but sometimes there'll be multiple groups that ask a composer to do something.
Okay.
And then those multiple groups will play that. So what's called a commission, a composer might receive, a sum of money, $1,000 from 10 different groups. And then he gets $10,000, and then the 10 different groups sort of premiere it at the same time all over the world. So we're doing the Boston premiere, but there's a saxophone quartet in Chicago that's going to do the Chicago premiere of this piece. So we kind of have that turf, and that's called My Saxophone Teacher. This is a shout out to Ken Radnofsky, my saxophone teacher in Boston. I studied with him at the Boston Conservatory and then at Laundry School of Music for a total of 6 years. He has this thing called worldwide concurrent premieres, which does just that. It asks from many different people, a little bit of money, and then that ends up being a lot of money for the composer to work on.
What a great way to support art.
And then,
don't you think?
Yeah, that's something that's the way that this particular saxophone quartet was commissioned, with a lot of different.
Wow.
So there's a saxophone quartets in Chicago. I know of one in Europe that's commissioning it.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So this concert or recital on February 4th, it's an opportunity to support music and support students and to encourage them to continue making music and to give them as an idea of where they could go if they continue practicing, and to give your audience an opportunity to enjoy some lovely saxophone music. And now, is there a cost to attend this event? We
asked for a $10 donation. The parents of my students just realized the value, especially with it. They'll give us, like a little. They're happy to donate. So I don't expect passersby to give lots of money, but we're asking for a $10 donation for the accompanying musicians, the members of the Buzz, the band, and my piano accompanist. I'm hiring them, so I'm going to pay them no matter what. But yeah, so there's a small cost, but it's for me. This particular thing isn't about making money. This is sort of more food for my soul and food for the soul of my students, and just in general, this is why we're doing this, and we want to show people. So
I love that.
Yeah, and I have a kind of sort of philosophy when it comes to entertainment versus the art that I make. I have things that I'll do, and I won't ask for much money because it's what I really want to do.
Right.
And then I'll have the things that, when people ask me to entertain or play whatever kind of music they want to hear, then I'll probably ask for more money.
Right, because exactly.
So I don't know. That's my sort of philosophy, and I've always gone by that. So there's some things that people can get me to do for pretty cheap if it's weird enough, like what you just said. So that's
I love that you're doing this, and I love that you're doing it for the students, because I do think it's a great way to motivate students to stay with music, and I think I think music is, it's a wonderful thing to listen to. So if you're interested, it is February 4th. It is a Sunday at 3 in the afternoon at the Trails End Cafe on Lowell Street. And Dennis is going to play some pieces for us so that you can hear a little preview of what you'll be hearing on Sunday. And then you'll hear from students as well. So that's actually really exciting. So
as you're driving away from Colonial Inn on Lowell Street, it's like there's a gas station and a convenience store. It's kind of hard to see, there would be a cafe bar there. So, you just want to sneak around the back of that, and that's where you go into that cafe.
There's parking right behind there, yes.
There's a lot of parking, but it's easy to miss. You could drive right by that gas station and be like, what was that gas station about? That was the Trails End Cafe.
Right. So, it has a nice sign, though. So you can see the sign. So that's wonderful. So join us February 4th and come hear these kids and encourage them to continue playing and get great music before you watch the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So anyway, thanks. You're going to play for us.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Awesome.
I'm going to play first on the tenor saxophone some improvisation, jazz improvisation. this next piece I'm going to play for you is actually sort of my improvisation around a piece written for the flute, and it was written by Johann Sebastian Bach, and it's called the Flute Partita in A minor by Johann Sebastian Bach. This is just going to be an improvisation on that piece on the alto saxophone with sort of a jazz setup on the alto sax. I'm going to play a piece that our saxophone quartet is going to perform. It's originally written by Johann Sebastian Bach for the keyboard, and we're going to play it for 4 saxophones, and I'm going to play the beginning part of the melody on soprano saxophone. The piece is called The Little Fugue in G minor. I'm going to perform a piece originally written for the flute by Johann Sebastian Bach, and it's an excerpt from the Bach Flute Partita in A minor.